Katy.
Thanks, Jim. Well, as Jim said, this budget continues the approach we've taken since coming to government. So we've looked to find savings where we can. We're dealing with those unavoidable spending pressures that we see, dealing with some of those terminating programs, showing restraint at the same time and delivering the biggest budget turnaround in a parliamentary term due to our fiscal strategy. So our spending restraint has seen real spending growth average 1.5% over the 6 years to 27-28, which is less than half of the 30-year average, which is 3.2%, and around 1/3 of the former government's average at 4.1%. We've identified those savings we talked about yesterday, $14.6 billion in savings reprioritisations in this budget update, bringing to a total $92 billion since PFO. And we've banked 78% of revenue upgrades since the election. When you compare that to the former governments of about 40%, you can see the significant increase there, and that, of course, has impacted on our ability to deliver two surpluses. This means that the budget position is $200 billion better off compared to what it was under the Liberal government at PFO, despite having to find $48 billion on unavoidable spending pressures since the election and the need to provide that essential cost of living relief to Australians under pressure. The better budget position means less debt, less interest costs. As Jim outlined, gross debt $177 billion less than what we inherited, helping avoid around $70 billion in interest costs over a decade. And whilst the budget position is $1.3 billion better off than forecast at budget, the slippage across the forward estimates is really down to urgent, unavoidable or automatic spending. So unavoidable spending is half of those net decisions in MYEFO, around $8.8 billion, medicines, infrastructure cost pressures, dealing with some of those terminating programs we talked about, and then $16.3 billion in payment variations, so pensions, indexations, veterans accessing the payments that they deserve because of the investments that we've made under the leadership of Minister Keogh to get those claims being processed sooner, natural disasters, schools, Medicare, more people claiming on the MBS, which is good when you consider people's access to GP and primary care services, PBS, medicines, childcare. So again, our investments in childcare, early education and care, we can see running through this MYEFO as well, with more children in care. Now, I just want to make a few comments about women because we've really put women at the centre of our economic strategy since coming to government, and I may not get a question about it during the press conference. But I really want to thank and acknowledge the leadership of the Prime Minister and the Treasurer in ensuring that we do have women at the centre of our economic policy, that we're thinking about that all the time, and whether it be through appointments, such as the ones the Treasurer made to the Reserve Bank boards this week, but also into women's wages, to women's safety, and to the way we approach and value the care economy, which again is quite different to our predecessors. But you'll see that continue in this budget update, and we're also seeing the progress from making those investments. So you'll see more investments in women's safety, in the significant additional investment into making childcare or early education and care universal, the investment in wages for those predominantly feminised industries. Even if you look at fee-free TAFE, where 62% of the people using free TAFE under that program are women, even the HECS arrangements where we know that women hold 61% of the debts. But if I could just briefly talk, we've got the lowest gender pay gap on record, again predominantly down to the fact we've invested in wages in the aged care sector, and because of the investments in early education and care, we expect to see that trend continue. Women's participation in the labour market reached a record high in September, and over 500,000 of the jobs that have been created during our term in government have gone to women. And again, we're seeing hundreds of thousands of more children in care, meaning that the early education and care system is working for both children and for parents, and predominantly women who picked up those caring responsibilities. So thank you for just letting me say that. But whilst, just to conclude, whilst we're getting the budget in better shape, we're delivering that cost of living relief and importantly improving services to the community, which you can see flow through in those parameter variations today. This has been, an important and difficult balancing act in many ways. A lot of pressures, a lot of requests for additional support, and we're trying to find room for all of those important investments while finding savings and reusing money where we can at the same time. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Katy. Just a couple of issues before we take a bunch of